What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, man? It's just I'm happy to be here. Anytime I can sit here and talk about sports is always a good day, man. Thanks for the invitation, and I certainly appreciate the
Kyrell,
opportunity.
what's going on? You hear me back there?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. Congratulations on the new setup.
Hey, hey,
My
hey.
voice.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Well, fellas, a lot going on in the world of sports, man. Here on Centex Primetime, we like to cover all things Central Texas, as well as covering some national topics as well. Really just covering all things sports. We're going to jump right into it here today. One of the leading topics that we've had today, fellas, I'm going to play a sound off of here. One of the leading topics we've had is this Tua situation that's been going on down there in Miami. He came out and had some things to say about his head coach. Let's take a listen real quick and see what he said or had to say about his coach.
To put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate, you are the best whatever, you are this, you are that. Like, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? And then you hear it, regardless of what it is, the good or the bad, and you hear it more and more, you start to actually believe that. I don't care who you are. You could be the president of the United States. You have a terrible person that's telling you things that you don't want to hear, or that you probably shouldn't be hearing. You're going to start to believe that about yourself. And so that's sort of like what ended up happening. To put it.
So, kind of a lot to take in right there. He kind of fired off on his old head coach there, and he had some things to say about how Brian Flores was running the operation there and how he was being treated. And I've heard just from different people, that some of those guys that come from that Belichick tree, as Brian Flores did, every now and then they kind of talk like that. They'll have some negative things to say, I guess you could say, every now and then. But what do you guys feel about that, Rocky? We'll start with you. When you hear him come out and say some stuff like that about his old coach, what do you think?
Well, the first thing I think when a guy says something like that about a coach that he had a couple years ago, it makes me think that he feels in some way he's been vindicated based on the results he's had up to this point. He's had what I would consider a really good year last year with Tyreek Hill. And so this was his chance to kind of shoot back at a guy that really he felt treated him unfairly. And you see that a lot in sports. What I find very interesting about the story is that the media is really taking the side of the player. And in most of the times, these situations, maybe 100% of the time, they really stick behind the coach because they figure the coach is the professional. He's the one that knows better than the player, this, that, and the other. But in this case, I see a lot of people jumping behind Tua and saying Tua was treated unfairly, whatever. Here's my point behind that. I played football at the high school and the college level. And this may be news to everybody else out there, but I'm just going to say it out loud. Coaches say mean things to motivate you. You understand? I never knew. Maybe there are coaches out there, but coaches say mean things. And it depends on how you take it as a player. Again, I think Tua, it's his prerogative to say what he said, but I think he'd be better served as focused on having a sustainable career over time before he fires back. Because I'm going to be honest with you, Tua, in my opinion, is still a developing quarterback. The Tua story is not completely written.
I agree.
And so for him to take a shot at Flores at this point is a little premature at this point, because whether Tua is truly a franchise quarterback, that story is yet to be written. And so, in my opinion, it's a situation where, let's be honest, guys from the Belichick tree and Flores are not popular amongst NFL personnel for a lot of different reasons.
Yep.
Maybe like you pointed out, the way they treat people, maybe the way they treat the media, maybe even the way they treat players. But at the end of the day, what you have to realize is Flores was a winning coach, and the ownership fired him essentially because him and the player didn't get along. I don't necessarily think that happens most of the time. Most of the time, the player leaves, the coach stays. And so this is to me, it kind of they're trying to justify the firing of Flores. Remember, there's a lawsuit still out there, so this may be a situation where they're trying to get in front of it from a media standpoint of saying, hey, before we go to court, let's put these things out, that these mean things that that Tua was saying to you. And again, it's a bit long-winded answer, but basically what I'm saying is coaches say mean things, and if you're an NFL player, you don't understand that coaches say mean things, I don't know what to say to you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Kyra, how you feel about what we heard from Tua?
Well, I felt like that was a very constructive description of what was going on. But apologize. I will have to say that this situation to me makes Tua look like he's soft as banana pudding. So I got to be honest. Yes, coaches can tend to be a little hard-nosed, but Jalen, I know you remember, like, I'm pretty sure that Herbert was a quarterback to be, the highly acclaimed quarterback was Justin Herbert. I'm pretty sure that Brian Flores, that's who he wanted.
Yeah.
And with franchise spending a 5th overall pick on a quarterback, you knew who was going to come into that situation, who was going to be leaving that situation. Like, who did they invest more in? Who was the risk? So the owners, they stuck with Tua. But as a player, it just sounds soft, dude. Like, you take that as soon as you have a little bit of success, you're in the San Francisco Mike McDaniels offense that has proven to really bolster up quarterbacks. Yeah. If you want to really talk about it, Brock Purdy. But at the same time, this system has been proven to make quarterbacks look better than they are. Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, and now you get the number one player voted number one player in the league.
By his peers.
And all of a sudden, you want to come out and make this statement like, oh yeah, the reason I was bad my first 2 seasons in the league was because of my coach. No, sir. You were a rookie, an unproven rookie at that. With, let's call it what it is. It's a noodle arm back there, and it's really not. That's really all that it was, man. You had to adjust a little bit. It helped that you got 2 of the fastest players in the league. Well, really 3 if you want to count that backfield with Devin A-Chain.
And Mostert.
And Mostert. Yeah. Oh yeah, forgot Mostert clocked at the fastest speed one of these last seasons.
Yeah.
But dude, this is soft. And you throwing this coach under the bus. Like, Mike McDaniels came in and brought a bunch of talent, pretty much all the talent in the world to put around you. And then you come out here, Mr. Noodle comes out here and throws this coach that ain't said nothing to him in years. And you want to talk about he was mean to you? Dude, you are a grown man responsible for your own actions. So for you to sit up here and talk about, well, he was mean to me, so I couldn't get right in the right headspace, I'm not buying it. I'm not. And it really upset me to see this story today, because I was like, no way this dude is really trying to act like that was the problem those first 2 years. And not you getting Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, a decent running game that, had you winning games at least. But you know what happens to Miami in the playoffs. It's cold. They can't win games. Dude, you haven't proved nothing. You threw for a bunch of yards. Ryan Fitzpatrick threw for a bunch of yards. I don't want to hear this, man. This is throw this story in the trash and let's move on.
Well, I'd like to bring somebody else in on the conversation. And he's a good friend of mine. He's a 2-time All-Southwest Conference performer, former NFL player, played 13 years professionally. And none other than the Central Texas native himself from from Parkside.
You can leave that part out.
Yeah. Wayne Walker, man.
Well, as a coach, there's an adjustment just like there is for a player. That was his first coaching job, head coaching job. So it's an adjustment you have to make. But there are some things better left unsaid. You know, you have to use that as motivation like he did. But at the end of the day, he shouldn't have never spoken. Just leave that in the past. Don't say anything about it. Use it as motivation. Because, like Rock said, coaches say a lot of things that you don't want to hear. That's not for the public ear. Let me tell you that. So it's just better left unsaid.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with all that was said from you fellas, and I appreciate you, Mr. Walker, for jumping on the show with us today. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know how to take that, like you guys said, and all of you guys play football, and Mr. Walker played in the NFL. So I mean, coaches are gonna say some things sometimes. Maybe he was just trying to find that button to push. I'm looking at his first 2 years right here under Brian Flores as a coach. First year, 1,800 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 picks, 64 completion percentage. Second year, 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, 10 picks. So all of that, I understand maybe he said some things that, you know, maybe you didn't agree with, or maybe that didn't motivate you, but you got to have some accountability in there too. I don't like for him to try to put that all on one person, like, well, this is why I wasn't playing good, because we had, like Kyrell said a second ago, I mean, you had the Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and all these guys to your offense. I mean, maybe that was a reason why it started getting a little bit better for you on there as well. So, I mean, I don't know how to feel about Tua saying that about his former coach. And like you said, Rock, maybe, you know, he's got a lawsuit pending against him. Maybe there's some other things going on here that the league wants to paint a narrative about Mr. Flores in this situation here.
And there too, Brian Flores is a defensive coach. He didn't want Tua from the beginning. So there's a lot of tension there already. And so you, like we were speaking, you just have to leave some things and use it as motivation. Like Tua, that was an owner's pick. It wasn't Brian Flores' pick. He's a defensive guy. He's a defensive coordinator. That's why they brought him there. Their defense prospered while he was there.
Yep.
Tua didn't, because Mike McDaniel is an offensive genius. He's a coordinator. So, of course, you're going to get the best out of Tua when you bring in an offensive guy. But Brian Flores is a defensive guy, and he didn't want Tua in the beginning. So it was a tension before it even got started.
Well, let me ask you this, Wayne, because you've been on that level, whatever. Is there generally, this is the basic from, there generally seems like there's a difference in the way that a quarterback is treated versus the rest of the team, generally speaking. But is the quarterback typically insulated from that harsh language that coaches use toward other position players?
It just depends on what level of quarterback. Tua is a first-round draft choice, so he's going to get preferential treatment from the beginning. But you want a coach that's going to coach you tough, that's going to coach hard, that's going to make you better. So you have to use all of that. You have to use all of that, and you have to get better. And it's every level of the game gets different, from high school to college to the NFL. NFL, you're getting paid. Well, college, you're getting paid too now. But the NFL, you're getting paid. You're making millions of dollars. So you have to use that as leverage. And those guys do get paid. And those guys get paid. They're at the top of the salary cap, $50 million, $35 million. These guys are getting paid. So you have to be able to take that criticism. And you have to use that criticism to get better.
Now, the thing, like I say, there's a couple things that kind of bother with me, what sticks out with me is, one is that, you know, literally 2 years after the fact, you know, he brings it up. I'm not sure why it comes up in the interview with Dan Le Batard. The other thing is that people have caught on to the story and then started, it's almost painting Brian Flores in an unfair light when we all know in football it's a tough deal. And let's just say this: Tua, while Brian Flores was there, Tua had an issue staying healthy, and he got his eggs scrambled pretty good while he was there as well.
And you got to think about it. There's story chasers right now. It's not a game being played right now. We're talking about it, right? So everybody's talking about news, anything that they can use until the football season gets here. If it's football season and games going on, that's not even a topic right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's dead
I just
tomorrow.
want to say one thing, man. I want y'all to take a review of Tua's career as a football player. This is a highly touted quarterback getting recruited to Alabama as, one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks out of high school. You get thrown into the national championship game and win, if I'm correct, right? Yep. They won that game.
Yep, through the game
right?
winner.
So you just conquered Alabama. You just conquered college football. You conquered high school football. You get into the league and somebody's telling you that apparently, you're not good enough and you're this. You gonna talk about egos. I think somebody's ego was just not getting stroked how it was in the previous institutions. And now you come back 2 years later, you want to throw somebody under the bus, say somebody was a mean guy. Nah, sir, I just don't think you've ever had anybody tell you no. I think that's what that was.
You're a professional. You're a professional football player, so you have to stay professional.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I mean, you're a professional. At the end of the day, it's about performing. If you're not performing, none of this would have came out if they would have won 14 games with Brian Flores. Like, we wouldn't have ever heard him say, oh, man, this guy's mean. He told me I wasn't. Hey, I'm sure Bill Belichick has told a lot of guys a lot of things, but they got 6 Super Bowl rings out of that. So,
yeah, and I don't doubt, like you pointed out when you first spoke, Buck, that he felt like he was stuck with the guy. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there may be some
was the owner's
resentment. Yeah, maybe some resentment related to the coach. But that's usually, like you pointed out, those are usually stories that comes out in 30 for 30s or once your career is over or something like that. That's usually not things that happen in the middle of your career, and certainly not when the coaches went on and coaching another team. That's usually not something that surfaces at this point in a person's career.
I think that's what made it so strange to hear it just jumping off. I mean, it kind of caught everybody's attention, and it's been top headline news for since it dropped on that interview with Dan Le Batard. So, folks, it's a lot going on in Miami outside of just playing football games. We see Tua's got the headlines started as we get started here in the first 20 minutes of the show here today, fellas. Want to thank everybody for listening and watching with us so far today. If you're listening, make sure you guys jump on the App Store, the Apple Play Store, or the Google Play Store if you have an Android, the Apple Store if you have an iPhone, and download the Centex Sports 1 app so you guys can listen and catch all the action here on CBS Sports Radio 94.5 HD channel. And also jump on to YouTube if you guys want to watch this. We have a live feed going out on Centex Sports TV on YouTube. Make sure you guys go on there, subscribe, like this feed, share this as well on Facebook. You can see it on the Centex Sports Network page and on the Centex Sports 1 page on Facebook. So, fellas, that was one of the football stories. I want to stay kind of in that NFL realm, especially while we have, like you said, Rocky, a Central Texas legend here, and Wayne Walker here with us. Want to talk a little bit about what's been going on up there in Dallas with these Dallas Cowboys. A lot of storylines have come out in the last few days, thanks to the owner, Mr. Jerry Jones, and in terms of not wanting to pay. I don't want to say not wanting to pay, but just haven't paid CeeDee Lamb there. They're, I feel, probably their best player, especially their best offensive player. If you want to say Micah's their best player, however you want to go about that. I want to start with you, Wayne. What do you think is what's going on here? I don't get the benefit of teams waiting to pay players like
You're
that.
America's team. You're worth $10 billion.
Yeah.
Your most productive guy on offense, CeeDee Lamb, which you could say is probably 1-2 best NFL receivers
Yeah.
should get paid like it. So if Justin Jefferson's getting paid $35 million per year, well, he can justify getting paid $34.5 million, or right at 35 with him. I mean,
you should want what he got. I mean,
you should want, yeah.
Well, I think the clear. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. And you watch this stuff very closely, Walker. You understand that salaries appreciate annually based on performance of the player.
Performance.
Yeah, and so at the end of the day, CeeDee Lamb caught 135 balls last year, which led the league, and he's been in the top 5 the previous years. That would dictate he would be in the top 5. He should get paid like a top 5 receiver, exactly. Which essentially means that he'll get anywhere from an annual salary of $32 and $35 million a year. That's just the going rate for a top wide. Yeah, for a top wide receiver. There's really not much to. So what could they be negotiating at this point that would have CeeDee Lamb holding out?
Well, this is a deal that should have been already done. It's not a deal that should take all the way up until the first NFL game. He should have been paid soon after Justin Jefferson was paid. They should have been working on this.
Facts.
One of the problems I always have with the Cowboys are, you get all this fanfare, you're America's team, but you don't pay the guys. Emmitt Smith was the best running back in the league by far. And he had to go through the same thing. Ezekiel Elliott had to go through the same thing. Dez Bryant had to go through the same thing. Why are we keep having these problems with the Cowboys when clearly you have the money to do so?
Yeah.
You have to pay your players.
Yeah.
And no one else is in the league has this problem but the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Now this is something that I've heard people say. That Jerry Jones feels that being a Cowboy is so valuable that the players should give him a discount on his salary.
There's so many perks in Dallas. Believe me, there are. But that still has nothing to do with your on the field value.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. I agree, and for one, I don't believe in anybody should be taking a discount. Jared's not taking no discounts off of his.
When your career is over, your career is over.
Yeah, exactly. Once that's done,
you have to get paid while you're productive, and he deserves to get paid.
Yeah, he definitely deserves his money.
A top 2 player.
Now again, this goes back over 30 years ago when after he originally bought the team, and it became contentious between. Everybody knew that at that time, Emmitt Smith was the better was the more pivotal part of the team. He signed Troy Aikman to a huge contract, and then Emmitt Smith had to hold out. Not really even hold out. Emmitt Smith didn't have a contract. Like his contract had ran out, and he didn't have a contract until, of course, the rumor has it that they lost the first 2 games in the last game on Monday night, and Charles Haley threatened to kill Jerry Jones. And he somehow resolved that contract issue with Emmitt Smith.
Right. Troy Aikman didn't have a problem getting his money. Tony Romo
never had a problem getting his money.
Didn't have a problem getting his money. As a matter of fact, they went to Tony Romo and say, "Hey, let's work this out.
Yeah,
let's make a deal." So why is
Zach
a guy
Martin?
that's being productive, probably 1-2 in the league as far as receiver position, not being paid?
Yeah. Kyra, get in on this real quick. Another resident Cowboys fan, so I know this is a lot. This means a lot to you as well.
Look, this is a painful offseason, and you guys hit it right on the nail. There's always really turmoil when it comes to these contract situations with the Dallas Cowboys. Again, waiting to pay, like Jalen said, it's a horrible strategy. You waited to pay CD. You could have gave him this contract a year or two ago. You knew you were going to give it to him as soon as he turned out to be any type of decent. You gave him 88. All right. So when you gave these guys these Ring of Honor Cowboy numbers, you know you're going to pay them if they give you a little bit of production. With CD, you gambled. You didn't pay him, and he put it right up your mouth because he went out there and had probably the best season a receiver could have had outside of that, whatever that thing down there in Miami is. But CD was a top player this year, and now you're going to have to pay him. Now, on the Cowboy side or Jerry's side, they made a mistake. And you can't fault CD for the decision he's making. But they're trying to take the stand now that, if you're at camp, we're going to take care of you. If you show up to work, we're going to take care of you. We're going to get you paid and all these things, this, that, and the third. But here we are looking at a player that I think personally unlocked Dak Prescott, honestly, because outside of that playoff debacle they had, Dak Prescott was right up there with Patrick Mahomes these last 2 years with throwing touchdowns and maybe not interceptions, but at least with putting the ball in the end zone. These things are like a staple of the Cowboys offseason. They did it with Zeke. They almost did it with Zach Martin. They tried to do it with Zach Martin, but people were in an uproar about that one. And now here we are. You got a guy missing camp. You know, yeah, he looks 10 pounds heavier, but you got a guy missing camp. And what's the number one thing with people missing camp? It's never, are they going to be ready for the playbook or any of that? No, they can play. The problem is their body hasn't been moving. It hasn't been making football moves with football contact all summer. And you get out there the first week, first time you touch the field, and what happens? You're out for the season. You're out for 8 weeks. No. They got to start taking care of these guys from the jump. As soon as you know a guy's giving you production, just pay him. You're here with Dak. You're here with CD. You got there with Zeke. You took care of Zach, but come on, dude. You're going to have to pay the guy now. You gambled last year. So now you lost. Pay him, and it's done.
Yeah. I agree. You got to pay the guy. He put up the production, like you said. You gambled. You let him bet on himself. He bet on himself, and he cashed in. I mean, he had a top 3 season for anybody in the league as far as at the receiver spot. So you got to pay him, and you got to pay these guys. One, while they're young, you want to go ahead and lock them in, secure your future. Micah is young. CD is young. You want to secure Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland. Like, these guys are young. You want to secure your future right now while you can't, because they're only going to get more expensive.
Well, you bring up a great point, Jalen. These are homegrown guys.
Yeah.
That they're having these contract disputes with. Usually that doesn't happen. Usually I know, and again, I am not an Eagles fan in no way, shape, form, or fashion. But the Eagles are typically, if they draft a guy, they make sure his contract situation is straight and of market value. And they do it early.
And in that window of opportunity to win, it's closing. You got teams like Green Bay that's getting better. You got Detroit getting better. You got Chicago that's got a young team. You got Atlanta that's going to be good. You got Tampa Bay. So that window of opportunity to get to the Super Bowl, it's closing. So you have to pay your main guys. And when you don't pay your main guys, the other guys on the team see that as well. The other guys in the league see that as well. And so with that being said, being the most expensive franchise in the league, that don't translate to wins. Not if you ain't paying any money to your players. So you have to pay your players.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. You got to pay your guys. Like you said, the window is only so big. Now, I'm not one that typically thinks that the window is very large right now for the Cowboys, only because the last 3 or 4 years, how much better could they have been? They're winning 12, 13 games with Mike McCarthy. They're getting to the playoffs. They're getting the home field advantage. If you let a guy like CD get out of there, or you let a guy like Micah or somebody like Diggs or Bland, one of these staples, potentially Dak next year, they see he's in contract negotiations as well. What are we moving forward from there? I know Jerry says, the most thing he wants more than anything is getting to a championship, which I don't believe is that true. I think he wants to keep printing those coins over there, keep printing that money in Dallas. I believe he wants a championship.
But
But
off season dictates that.
yeah,
I mean, you have a chance to bring in a guy like Derrick Henry, who lives right in Dallas.
his whole career.
And you don't explore that opportunity at all. You don't even talk to the guy.
Yeah. That's what was surprising to me is that Derrick Henry said in a podcast I want to say the Pivot podcast.
Yeah, it was on the.
He wanted to be a Cowboy.
Yeah, and he said they never ever. His agent said the Cowboys never picked up the phone and gave him a call or anything like that. And it was disappointing as a Cowboy fan because we knew we had struggled last year in the run game, primarily because Pollard wasn't an every down back.
Not a physical back.
Had we had a guy like Derrick Henry last year, or I'll even say the last 2 years, someone we could get a ball to and didn't have to put the whole game on Dak's arm, we would have been, in a much better situation to, one, win that playoff game where Dak threw a couple interceptions against San Francisco. But then certainly we would have been able to slow Green Bay down somewhat when their offense was blazing hot. Maybe we could have used the run game just to limit the number of their possessions because we wasn't. Obviously, our defense took the day off and we weren't stopping them out from scoring.
Exactly. I mean, but so
I really don't want to leave that taste in y'all's mouth with last year's playoff game. I want to leave on a high note. I feel like that. Rocky, you're absolutely right. One of the bigger problems was our lack of versatility in the backfield. I go back to that Miami Dolphins game when Tony Pollard is clotheslined by a corner to stop him from getting in the end zone. I was like, I never missed Zeke or wanted Derrick Henry so bad in my life. And I take back everything I said about Ezekiel Elliott these last 2 years. I'm glad he's back. But the other hole that I think needed major improvement was that middle linebacker spot. Micah Parsons is a freak athlete, and I know he played a lot of DN last year, but we drafted him to play linebacker and then discovered he was a DN during that training camp. We've had a hole there for the past 2 to 3 years, and with Leighton Vander Esch, his neck injuries and misses at the linebacker spot, we really don't have that Fred Warner, not even a Fred Warner. Like, we don't even need that caliber of player, but just somebody that can read defenses and have that instinct at that linebacker spot like they should. We have not had that. And every time we get in the playoffs or play Aaron Jones, it comes out. It's out there, We're weak in the middle. We've always been weak in the middle. We have a potential bust in Mozzie Smith. I don't want to use that word with him yet, even though I just did. But he has a lot to prove this year. We traded for Jordan Phillips. That's just reinforcing the absence of faith that they have in Mozzie Smith. They wouldn't made that trade. They wouldn't got a Carl Lawson on the defensive end. They drafted a linebacker this year and the year before, even though Overshawn tore his ACL. These guys are going to need to absolutely be a force in the middle of that defense. If they can be a force, this defense will be solved. We'll have Diggs, we'll have Bland, we'll have Hooker, we'll have rotating safeties in that other free safety spot or a strong safety spot that have been proven to may be able to make plays. Our offensive line is shored up. Tackle, left guard, center, right guard, Terrence Steele returning. He's in that too. Our offensive line is shored up, all five. And then the only mystery left really is, are these linebackers going to perform, which LaFau, he's one of those Samoan, Hawaiian kids. Oh yeah, he plays with his hair on fire. It's not hair in the back of his head. That's a flame because he's getting through that line, man.
Well, I think it's your interior line. It's going to be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think now I'll say this. I'm pretty sure that looking at the guys on defense, that we're going to have a middle of the pack defense. I don't know if we're going to have top 10 defense. We're going to have middle of the pack defense. I think Zim is one hell of a defensive coordinator. So I think we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay defensively.
But you go back and you look at Zimmer, And what did he have when he was with Dallas? He always had the interior line. He had guys that could rotate and come in. They don't have that right now. They don't have guys that, you talk about linebackers, but they don't have guys in the interior that can keep those guys off the linebackers where the linebackers can roam free. So the first thing you have to shore up is that interior. They don't have that. The way you tackle the Dallas Cowboys is you run at them. You run right at them. I run right at Micah.
They did.
And that's what you do because he's a pass rusher.
Uh-huh.
That's what you made him. You brought him in as a linebacker. Like my friend said, you discovered he could get off the ball and he could rush a passer. He's not rushing the pass against me. I'm putting a tight end on his side and we running the ball right at him the whole game because you don't have the interior.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't have the interior and those linemen can get up on the linebackers, the linebackers are not making any tackles either.
One thing I do know, to your point, Walker, is that the team looked totally different when they played when they were up versus when they were even or down. It was a totally different defense. I used to watch. I was like, we get up by about 14, 15 points in the first quarter. I was like, oh, we're going to look like the 85 Bears now. Because that's how, they play. Again, but when we ended up in a dogfight and trying to have to stop somebody on first down or second down, or, I even liked us better in 3rd and 4 better than I did 3rd and 1.
Yeah. If I'm game planning against the Cowboys, I'm running the ball. I want to run the ball on 1st and 2nd down. And I want to be in 3rd and short, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, where I have my options open, where I can run pass option all the time. I'm just going to drive the ball down the field like that. And that's what teams done to them last year.
Yeah, that's definitely what the Packers did to them. They kept them. They ran the ball, like you said. They went right to Micah's side. We're going to run the ball at you. We're going to stick a tight end and a tackle over there, and we're going to go up the middle.
They threw the ball too.
They did, but that run set up that play action that kept busting them over the head.
When they did pass the ball, they had 8 guys at the line of scrimmage trying to stop the run.
Right.
The Cowboys are strong on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get a pass rush, if teams are throwing the ball, but when teams are running the ball, I don't care if you are strong on the back end. It doesn't make a difference. You force those corners to come up and make tackles.
They defend the straight drop back game very well. I will give you that. The play action, the boot game, they were giving it up.
Because
it's a front running defense.
Yeah,
it's because you can run the ball on them. So what makes play action? Running the ball.
Yeah.
So you have to stop the run. You have to be strong at the interior line, and that's what they need. They need guys to keep those linemen from getting upfield, getting on their linebackers, and because you can't throw the ball. If they can play one-on-one, it's good, but you can't play one-on-one when they're running the ball on you. And that's the Cowboys' problem.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I agree right there with the Cowboys. They got to get that. They got to get those little fellas out of the box. Let's just start there. They got to get those dudes at a 205 playing linebacker. They got to get those little guys out of there. But they got to address those contract situations that they need to address in there. And if they can get some of those guys locked in, and we'll see what they do. I don't know. Philly looking pretty good. I don't know about them winning that division. Philly's looking pretty good, but that's left to be determined. Folks, I want to thank everybody who's been listening with us so far. You're listening to Centex Primetime right here on Centex Sports 1 and on CBS Sports Radio Central Texas. Also on Centex Sports Network. Talking NFL here. Want to stay right there, guys, while we have all these football guys in here. The last few years, man, the Kansas City Chiefs, even when it seems like they haven't been able to pull it off, they pull it off. Last year, they were kind of iffy throughout midseason. I think at one point they were 500, maybe 4-4, 4-5, somewhere around there. And, 15 starts getting hot, and that offense started clicking. I don't even know how, really. They didn't have that many weapons last year. Obviously, they have Kelsey to go with Mahomes, but it's not the Tyreek Hill that we're used to seeing and all of these big-name guys. but they somehow find a way to pull it off. By the end of the year, they get hot at the right time. Who is the team that can knock these guys off of their high horse, that can stop this team from three-peating? I know the AFC is loaded, and but somebody's got to be able to put a stop to this. We haven't seen anybody three-peat yet in the league. Do we think the Chiefs are going to three-peat, or is there a team out there that can knock them off? Kyrie, I'll start with you. Who do you think is somebody that can stop 15? We know he's the best player in the league.
Who can stop 15?
Yeah.
15. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all. Because I'm telling you what, if you wanted to stop the Kansas City Chiefs, you should have did it in 2023. Because it's not happening no more. They got the Olympics just passed. That wasn't the 4x1 team out there. The 4x1 team played for the Kansas City Chiefs because they got the 3 fastest receivers in the league right now. And you had your chance to get him out of there when he had no weapons. Now you got him out there with 3 Ferraris and think you're going to stop him now? Last year, the Chiefs' strongest asset, their best player was Patrick Mahomes, but that was a defensive team last year. They won games off of their defense and running the football. Patrick Mahomes did not look great at all through the first half of the season. Well, he was still, MVP or whatever, but he wasn't playing like it. We just knew the name, but he was not looking great at all. That team played defense and they ran the ball. But now you want to ask me who's stopping him this year? You want to tell me, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson? No, I'm not buying it. They're going to be great. They might win 14, 15 games, but I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, man. Patrick Mahomes is going to dot them boys up and down the field with nothing, with 5'9", 160-pound, 4 flat running receivers because they're running by everybody. And then they figured out that run game last year. Like they weren't great, but that run game was great, and that defense was great. And now you're gonna give the offense weapons. It's not. Yeah, we're seeing a three-peat, guys. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, yeah, you have the best head coach in the league. You have the best quarterback in the league. You have the best defense coordinator in the league. And these guys have now become addicted to winning. So once you become addicted to winning and it's expected of you, that's what you go out and do. So nobody's stopping the Chiefs. The only person that can stop the Chiefs, like you said, Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the only people that can stop the Chiefs. They got good kicking, they got good special teams, but they have so many things that are going great for them, and then they go out and get the fastest guy in the league. They let Tyreek Hill go, and they still won a Super Bowl. So that tells you about their mentality. That tells you about their team structure. That tells you about Andy Reid. That tells you about Patrick Mahomes. These guys can win with what they got, and that's what they do. They let their best defensive back walk the past season. Mm-hmm. And they're still going to be good on the back because they had the best defense coordinator. This guy makes adjustments. He's going to win the blitz, when not to. And they only have, maybe 3 star players?
Yeah.
Kelsey, Mahomes,
Chris Jones.
And Chris Jones.
Yeah.
Well, again, you brought out the point that they coach very well. They play, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey. Those are guys that they drafted. So obviously they draft well. And then, of course, they go out and at this point, after winning 3 championships, they have a winning culture. The thing that has broke up dynasties in previous generations was the defection of key players. Whether it was Dion with the 49ers or a lot of role players with the Cowboys in the 90s, even guys with the Patriots, in the early 2000s. They had guys that Richard Seymour and other guys that would leave, Ty Law and all that kind of stuff. It seems like the Chiefs are in the mindset of they're reloading. I thought they were going to take a step back with Tyreek Hill. But what it ended up happening was the defense took a huge step forward, and that kind of, made up the difference. What I'm looking for this time is one. Are they going to be able to sustain the level of intensity that's required to win at the level that they have been winning at? Because, I'll ask Walker this. Is there such a thing as mental fatigue after chasing championship after championship?
Greatness. They have guys that want to be great. Patrick Mahomes wants to be the best quarterback in the entire league. There's no mental fatigue when you're winning rings. There's no selfishness in Kansas City. Like you said, a lot of teams, dynasties were broke down by selfishness. Guys want to make more money. Guys, want to be bigger than the team. There's none of that there. These guys want to be great, and they're going to continue to be great. I don't see any letdown. I see them going back to the Super Bowl this year. I think the only team that can really beat them is probably San Francisco.
I'd say Baltimore, and I'll even say this. Let's be perfectly honest. Baltimore should have beat them
last year.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you look at their roster, they probably will be better this year than last year. But there's that big question mark hanging over the head of Lamar Jackson is in the playoffs, in big games, can he play like a big game player? And up to this point, he hasn't proven that.
So in an AFC championship game, you got Patrick Mahomes and you got Lamar. Who are you taking? One game?
Got to go with 15.
Yeah, I mean,
he's proven it.
No question.
Yeah, you have more. So this is what I say. If you get up by 12, you're gonna take Patrick Mahomes. If you get down by 12, you're gonna take Patrick Mahomes only because he's proved that he can. Of course, he can maintain a lead. But I remember when he played Deshaun Watson, when Deshaun was a rookie, and they had those guys up.
You didn't have to bring that up.
They had him up 24-0. Oh, yes, right. You're a Texans guy.
Yeah, you didn't have to bring that up.
And he brought him back. As a matter of fact, it didn't even take a whole quarter for him to come back. So, I mean, again, Patrick Mahomes has that supernatural quality that no matter what the situation is, his team is still going to play, and his team believes they have a chance to win.
Yeah, I'll have to say Mahomes, like we all agree, he's the best player in the league, and he's arguably top 3 quarterback, top 5 of all time already. And he's, 29? He's got another 10 years of doing this, at least another 10 years of doing this. So, it's hard to bet against that guy, but, I feel like at some point the mental fatigue and just the physical fatigue at some point has to kick in. At some point.
Let me, and I'll ask Walker this: Have you ever had a player that plays better hurt than Patrick Mahomes?
No. And I'll just go back to I was looking at an interview the other day, and it was Stephen A. Smith and Tom Brady. Tom Brady, 7 rings, and Stephen A. asked him, "Who is the best quarterback in the league right now?" And Tom Brady said, Patrick Mahomes. His ability and his athletic ability for one, but the way he goes about his business, the way he treats his teammates, it's just the little things that he do, that he's seen. And this is a guy that won 7 Super Bowls. So, and Patrick Mahomes is a guy from Texas Tech, too, so I'm a little biased. I
knew that was coming.
But the Super Bowls speak for themselves. The results speak for themselves.
Speaking of that, like I say, you watch every Texas Tech game for the last 30 years.
Right.
And so, did you see this?
I did. Let me tell you, they had Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. They had Davis Webb, who went on to the Giants, and now I think he's an NFL coach now. And they had all three of these guys at the same time, and they were with Cliff Kingsbury, okay? Was a coach and offensive guru type guy, that Texas Tech guy, but hadn't shown any results yet, but he'll get there. But they had all these guys at the same time. Baker Mayfield ends up going to Oklahoma. Davis Webb ends up going to California. So these are three guys that played in the NFL, and one of them was the first pick in the whole draft.
yeah.
You know, so you can see it. I remember working a camp, and I went down and I worked a camp, and I got to see this young kid when he came in, and it was Patrick Mahomes. And just the eye test, just me seeing and being around the NFL and playing football in Canada and all the football that I played, and I said he was going to be special.
I watched him. This is the game, and this is one of the games that I thought football had went to heck. It was a Baylor Texas Tech game, and I want to say the game was like 63-68 or something like
at
that.
Cowboy Stadium.
Yeah, and I
Levi
think,
scored that game.
huh?
Yeah.
And when I realized that he had threw for 700,
Oh my goodness.
PlayStation numbers, you know.
Exactly what it is. PlayStation numbers and
but that the next game after that game, Texas Tech was nationally televised against somebody. I can't remember who they were playing. Maybe Texas, maybe somebody. And the announcer had enough nerve to say, "Well, he's a good college player. I don't know if his skill set projects to the NFL." That take didn't age well.
not at all. Aged like milk.
Yeah, I'm sure he has his eyes closed up. But I mean, I could see it when I went and I worked the camp at Texas Tech, and I said, "Hey, that guy's going to be special." I mean, just the eye test. And
but he didn't play. Okay, so what I will say is this, Walker. He had all the physical tools, sure enough, and that's true. But he didn't play the game like any other player that I had ever seen. Matter of fact, I want to say in the Baylor game, there was a great analysis that the guy made who was calling the game. He said he plays the game more like a point guard than a quarterback. And so I believe he's still today, I think that can be said about it.
Yep.
that's essentially what a quarterback is. He's the point guard of the football team. You have to know how to read defenses, and you have to take what they give you. You know, some guys force the ball. That's just like a point guard. Some people force shots, or they force a pass, and it's a turnover. Well, that's the same thing in football. So essentially, you are a point guard. But this guy, he's just special. He's special. And sometimes, I don't care where you're from, you have a guy that come along and he's special. And this guy's special.
I never, and he does things. Okay, so the first thing I ever seen him do in a game that I had never seen anybody do. I never seen a quarterback make a no-look pass, right? Like looking over here and throw it back over here. I had never seen a guy do that. And then the other night, I seen him do something that I had never seen done on a football field before in my life.
Yeah,
and again,
disrespectful is the word.
It's disrespectful.
hey, and the crazy thing, it was the only pass available. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was, and he just whipped it around his back like it was.
And to even be talking about it with your head coach and your offense coordinator or whatever, to say, hey, and the coach say, hey, I want you to do this one game. I mean, that means he has to have a lot of confidence in you. And that's the type of relationship that they have. That's when you talk about Kansas City, that's why I say they have a special relationship. They have a special team. They had that same team that you could say the Cowboys had back in the day when Jimmy Johnson coached a little differently. Bill Belichick coached a little differently. But they have that special bond with these guys that, hey, we want to continue. We want to be great. We want a dynasty. We want to be the next dynasty, and they are.
Let me ask you that. Speaking of dynasty, and I heard this interesting take by a guy on CBS Sports Network last night on the Late Show, and he made a an interesting observation, and I had to really sit down and think about it, is considering how it ended for Bill Belichick, could you now start talking about Andy Reid being the greatest coach of all time?
No.
Absolutely not.
Nah. I think we got 3 consensus no's on that one. Absolutely not. I think he's going to be a good coach, and we're finna go to break before we touch the top of the hour. I think he is going to be a top 5 coach, potentially top 3. But San Francisco had a pretty good run in the 80s and going into the 90s, and Bill Belichick got 6 Super Bowl rings like Michael Jordan. That's pretty crazy. Right. So I think that to even say that somebody has 6 rings, basketball is much easier. You got the 2 best players, you probably got a chance to win. Football, you can have the best 5, 6 players, and you still got to put this whole thing together and be able to win. So I think Bill might still have something to say about that.
I throw them appearances in too.
Yeah, appearances that he had in there as well. But
how many does he have without Tom Brady, though?
That's
got one as a defensive coordinator.
That's a fair point. But 6 is a lot.
6 is a lot.
Hey, Phil had 6 with Mike until he got with Kobe. So I mean, and they was considered him one of the best as well. So that is a fair point. Tom Brady is a big driving force in that. But I'm one of those people that think they needed each other. It was a togetherness there. They need, especially in the beginning of Tom's career. He needed some of those defenses. They were winning a lot of games, 13-10 in the Super Bowl, and like he was lighting it on fire there. But so I think we all agree that Mahomes is going to be a very, very tough out. We're going to touch a little bit back on a little bit of NFL when we come back at the top of the hour, and we'll jump into some college football as well. You're here listening to Centex Primetime on Centex Sports Network and on CBS Sports Radio, Central Texas. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
When you suffer an injury at home, work, or on the road involving a car, 18-wheeler, or motorcycle, the first thing you need to do before calling anyone is dial 1-800-INJURIES for locally owned and operated the Zimmerman Law Firm. Hey, this is Big Rich, and the Zimmerman Law Firm has represented thousands of Central Texans in the last 50-plus years and handled more personal injury cases than any other local firm. When you call the Zimmerman Law Firm, you talk to a lawyer, no matter how big or small your case, and they guarantee you're financially taken care of because they only get paid when you win. Hey, don't just take my word for it. Heart of Texas Reader's Choice has named Zimmerman Law Firm the best in Waco. So remember, if you get injured at home, work, or on the road, it just takes one call, y'all, to 1-800-INJURIES or zlawhelp.com for the Zimmerman Law Firm and tell them I told you to call. Principal Office, Waco, Texas. No fee unless you recover. Book your next special event at the Bell Mead Civic Center. From quinceañeras to Christmas parties, the Civic Center has room to accommodate your needs. You're planning that special birthday party, having a family reunion, or training seminar. Book now at the Bell Mead Civic Center. And if you need to rent a room for that big event for your family or business function, the Bell Mead Civic Center is what you're looking for. Let their friendly and knowledgeable staff help take some of the hassle out of planning your next event. Call them today at 799-2418 or visit them at the Bell Mead Civic Center, conveniently located near I-35 and Loop 340. No matter if your event's big or small, they've got room for you.
When you are tired of good enough pizza and want the only authentic Italian quality pizza in town, with dough and sauce made fresh daily in-house, vegetables freshly chopped throughout the day, and meats made using the finest beef, pork, and chicken, I present to you locally owned and operated Marco's Pizza. Marco's has 3 convenient locations to serve you, including across from Pirate Stadium in Belle Meade. Feeding the entire family piping hot, authentic Italian fresh pizza, cheesy bread, and dessert tonight is as easy as going to marcos.com or stopping by the newest location in Belle Meade. Marco's Pizza. Say goodbye to just good enough.
Make your car showroom new inside and out with the complete detail from Nick's Foam and Go. Serving Waco in the Central Texas area, Nick's Foam and Go is fully mobile and the only installer with CB3 ceramic coating. Contact Nick at 254-400-0083. That's 254-400-0083. And when you get your next full detail, mention La Vega Pirates State Champs to get 15% off.
CBS Sports Central Texas, KWBT HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Hood is CBS Sports Central Texas, changing sports radio.
Welcome back into Centex Primetime. We're still here on the Centex Sports Network and the CBS Sports Radio Central Texas app, Centex Sports One app. I'm here joined with Rocky Miller, Kyrell Gibson, and the Central Texas legend Wayne Walker. We're all still here, folks, and we're going to do a couple of hot takes, a couple quick takes before we jump back in to talk about some football. Folks, it's WNBA season's kicked right back off as they jump right back out of the Olympics. What are some of the things you've been watching, Rocky, in this WNBA that's got you excited so far?
Well, I've been watching WNBA for all the entire season, man. And I must be honest, this is more women's basketball than I watched in my entire life.
Same.
And I really enjoyed watching Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Asia, the lady up in Dallas that I can't pronounce her name.
Enrique.
Awale.
Enrique Ewuwale.
Yeah. You know who
I'll
it
probably
is.
mess it up.
Yeah. I've been watching it all, man. And so I've been I've been playing underdog fantasy. So been doing good sometimes.
How you
not
looking
so
on
good.
there?
Well, I got 2 tickets in tonight. Hopefully I can get some financial relief due to that. And but no, man, I really been enjoying myself, man. And there's been a lot of discussion around Caitlin Clark. And I want to get you guys' opinion on it, right? First off, I don't think there's any question she's the best thing that ever happened to the WNBA.
Facts.
Ever. All right. Also, she's the most polarizing player to ever play in the NBA. And I just want to get you guys' opinion. What makes her so polarizing? She's not a big personality. Mm-mm. But yet and still, people have very strong opinions about her one way or the other. Go ahead, Walker.
Well, she has a lot of pressure on her. First pick, she was in the NCAA tournament playing in the championship game 2 weeks before she gets drafted. Or maybe a week before. The WNBA hasn't been watched as much as it's been watched this year. So with all the other players are kind of mad and kind of jealous about her and all the publicity. But why? When this league has been going on and forever for the last
about 30 years.
Yeah,
close
30
to that.
years, and it hasn't been this popular. But if you bring someone in and she's the first pick in the draft, you put a lot of pressure on her and she's making money. Don't get jealous about it. Hey, because we all making money.
Yeah.
The salary's going to go up. Now they're getting charter flights.
Yeah.
They're more televised than ever. So, I mean, hey, Caitlin Clark is doing a thing.
Yeah.
And she's leading she just broke the record, I think.
For rookie assist. Yeah, she just broke the record for most rookie assists. Yeah. And I agree. She's definitely, like you said, most likely. My thing is, I think it's a timing deal. I think it was time that the WNBA started getting some recognition and started getting those eyes on there. She blew up in college because of how her play style is what made her blow up. And I'll let you get in after this, Kyrell, to talk about it. Her play style is what blew her up in this. She plays kind of like Steph Curry. It added a little more sizzle and a little more pizzazz to the game when somebody's shooting from half court. Women's basketball is a lot more structured than men's basketball as far as they still play in a more traditional way. The post is going to touch the ball every so plays. They're going to run an offense. It's not a lot of one-on-one, just take somebody off the dribble. And she started showing that kind of Iowa because they gave her the keys and kind of like, just let us go wherever you're going to take us to. So I think it was a timing thing. and her play style is why she became so popular. But like you just said, I agree. Once the people had picked her to be the one, there's nothing to get mad at. Everybody's going to get paid now. Everybody's going to get some money off of this. Everybody, like you said, they got charter flights. That's why I wasn't necessarily agreeing when the lady from Chicago had kind of hit her, and they were kind of going at it. I'm like, man, this is your meal ticket. What you knocking her on the ground for? Y'all want to go back to them Spirit flights? No, I'm just playing. They wasn't on Spirit, but
I
want to
know how
go
those
back.
flights feel. I played arena football one year, and he had to sit in the airport 3 hours and wait on the airplane. Like
now, you got your own plane to get on, and that's thanks to Caitlin Clark, and Angel Reese has played a part in that too as well, but not as the biggest part. She's had a good start to her rookie season as well, but I think it was a timing thing. I think her style of play and the timing of social media kind of blowing it up kind of just met at the right time. And if she's going to be the chosen one, she's going to be the chosen one.
I definitely think her style of play brought a lot of people to the game. And I don't want to avoid this point, right? America loves the hero, especially a white one.
Yeah, it's just the truth.
So again, I believe her color has something to do with her popularity, because there've been a lot of great black players that played with the style that she played with, right? But there've been a lot of great black players. But I think in this day and in this time, Caitlin Clark was just what the WNBA needed.
Yeah. Kyrie, what do you think about that? Real quick, jump in there.
Yeah, man. Fair points from all you guys. To me, I look back to 2023. She was killing it. She was the best player in the women's sphere, and that's we've seen that though. Maya Moore, Asia Wilson, Caitlin Clark. The only difference with Caitlin Clark was, and this is why Rocky, I didn't want to say it, but you already said it. So the difference is this was America's sweetheart leading up to that 2023 national championship game against LSU. And then what did we see in that game? We saw the hero lose to the villain, right? Angel Reese waving in her face, making little choke signs at her. They had a villain and they had their hero on the ground, licking her wounds. About 17 points is what I'm looking at. So there is a factor of Caitlin Clark was going to be Caitlin Clark. She's amazing. But her having a villain to go with her elevated her, had people defending her, like against Angel Reese, and a lot of all these media outlets, ESPN, all these other places that you want to get your sports news from, they get their takes and their topics from social media, from likes, clicks, interactions. Mm-hmm. So when they see people are upset with Angel Reese for talking smack to her and doing all these things, that's getting you clicks and interactions, which means ESPN is going to talk about it the next day. When they see this lady that's still getting all the popularity, even though she didn't even win the championship, that's going to cause the other side to click, react to this person. And no, they can't be mad because yes, all their checks are increasing, but at the same time, the Steph Curry style of play is absolutely the most exciting thing we can probably get out of women's basketball. But at the same time, it's all timing and the American just story of hero and villain. That's what got this popularity. So we have a hero and a villain. We have two people going at it because we've had hoopers. Maya Moore, I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say about Caitlin Clark.
Bad girl.
Man, Maya Moore, and we've had that player. But who was the villain to Maya Moore? Who was her? Who was she going up against? Yeah. Who was that person to be like, oh yeah, we don't like this person? Like it all fuels that's why I say we're gonna talk about Caitlin Clark, but we're gonna talk about Angel Reese too. Yeah, she might shoot 2 for 12 from below the basket.
Yeah, she got them Bill Russell numbers sometimes, man.
But it's about the drama. It's about the drama. We have a hero and a villain, and that's what's taking the WNBA to this new level.
I just think it's unfair though. I mean, because Caitlin Clark, she didn't ask for that.
Yeah.
She just want a ball. You know what I'm saying? So it's the public, it's the social media that puts all that out there, and those girls are the ones that have to deal with it. But at the end of the day, she just want a ball. She just want to shoot the ball and have fun and play. But, you know, everybody's going to put their spin on it.
She's a hooper.
She's a hooper. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know, the social media, the television networks, podcasts and talk
People
radio.
like Rocky, you know.
Yeah.
They're going to put their spin and narrative on it because it gets clicks, it get eyeballs to the deal, to whatever their media format is. But here's the deal that I was disappointed in is that a lot of people had a strong critique of Caitlin Clark when, like Walker said, she just want to play ball. She just had to want to play ball. And I'll say this about the WNBA players, WNBA fans. You guys were drowning in debt. You guys were drowning, you know, trying to seek out attention. And if I'm drowning, I don't care what color the lifeguard is. You hear me? You understand? If I'm about to go under, who cares what color the lifeguard is? In this case, the lifeguard happened to be white, and I don't think any person that is passionate about the WNBA and the viability of the league should complain that the biggest star in women's basketball now is Caitlin Clark. I don't think they should complain considering all that it's done for the game.
Yeah, it's brought the game to a whole nother level. I mean, I think 90% of her games in her rookie year are televised. And I mean, just like a couple of years ago, if not last year, the WNBA Finals was on ESPN2.
Right.
Like it's not even on the regular during the summer as well. It's not even on regular programming.
The WNBA and the Olympics saved my summer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, what would I be doing this summer if it wasn't for WNBA and it wasn't for the Olympics? And and just to talk about the Olympics, I'd like to get you guys' take on this. The women survived almost a calamity in losing the gold medal game. Had they lost the gold medal game without Caitlin Clark on the floor,
oh my goodness, the stories would have been writing themselves. A foot being a little bit too big away, they hit a shot at the buzzer, and if it would have cashed, it would have went to OT. And like you said, man, if they lose that game after all that complaining they did about Caitlin Clark not being on the team, and I think the girl from Dallas should have been on the team. Everybody was talking about Caitlin Clark,
right?
But the girl from Dallas showed in the WNBA All-Star game she might be the best player outside of Asia Wilson in the league. Mm-hmm. I mean, she puts up 30 and a quarter on y'all. And I wasn't just going for Caitlin Clark to be on the team like that. I thought she should have for aesthetic reasons and for a business reason. You were going to sell more Caitlin Clark USA jerseys than anything.
And popularity. Here's the deal. It's going to be her league if she continues playing like this. Mm-hmm. There's no way around it. It's going to be her league or whatever. I respect what Diana Taurasi has done for the league. I respect what all the other players have done for the league in the past. But none of them all together has made the impact from a popularity and a fan standpoint like Caitlin Clark. And the question to me is that you have to always give the people what they want.
No matter what.
If you're in the entertainment business, you got to give the people what they want. And the people wanted Caitlin Clark, and I thought it was a huge opportunity missed by USA Basketball by not having her on the women's Olympic team.
She didn't ask for it. They just gave it to her.
The people picked her.
She didn't choose the schedule. She didn't choose that her games be televised. 90% of them. She just want a ball, and so they made her this media darling. They made her this American sweetheart. They made her the face of the NBA, and I think she's handled it with class, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think she's handling it really well. And that Olympic team, like, it came down to the end. I was watching that game in that Olympic game, and it started getting tight. And Jackie Young, one of our best guards, she fouled out of the game. And at this point, I'm thinking, well, who are the guards going to put in? Diana Taurasi got to get that spot up, man. If we can't put you in the last 5 minutes of the game, I know she's an OG and she's done a lot for the game. You got to get that spot. If we can't put you in that last 5 minutes, we need plays to be made. And they went and put a wing in the game and played with pretty much. They played with pretty much no guards because they had to put a wing in the game. They had Asia in already. If you can't put somebody in that spot when your top guard fouls out, you got DT. You got to get off this spot, man. You've been playing since the '90s, bro. It's time to get off that spot. Let's let Caitlin Clark. Let's let Caitlin Clark get in there. Yeah.
They gave her that 92 Magic spot, man.
Yeah. She got that 92 Larry Bird spot, the bad back. Where you come in, hit a couple threes, and go ice that back up.
But they wasn't playing against Angola though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they wasn't playing Angola.
And YMCA uniforms.
Yeah. They was out there in the My Player uniforms back there. But yeah, they got to let Caitlin Clark, like you said, she's becoming the face, and I'm excited to see how it's going to go forward from here with her in the WNBA. She's been doing a great job of holding that mantle, like you said, so far. They chose her as the chosen one, and she's been balling so far, man. I mean, she's already breaking rookie records. She's looking like one of the top players in the league already, just to start this off. So that was some our quick takes to start off here in this second hour. You watching Centex Primetime here on Centex Sports Network and CBS Sports Radio Central Texas. Make sure you guys go and download the Centex Sports One app so you guys can listen to this. Whether you're in your car, whether you're getting out of your car, or you're at the house, you can catch this action the whole 2 hours while we're going. The Centex Sports One. Go on the Google Play Store if that's where you get your apps from, or go on to the Apple Store if you have an iPhone and download the Centex Sports One app. If you want to watch this, go on Facebook, Centex Sports Network, or go on to YouTube, Centex Sports TV on YouTube. Make sure you guys like and subscribe on there as well. So, fellas, we were talking a little bit.
You missed one.
Oh, go ahead.
You can if you want to listen on your desktop, you can always go to CentexSports1.com.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And
yes,
click
sir.
to listen, and you can listen live on any device that has web browser.
Yes, sir. Also go on to there as well. Before we jumped off in that first hour, we were talking a little bit of football. We got to talk a lot about the NFL. Wanted to get you guys' opinion on some college football, especially while we have Mr. Wayne Walker here with us, a former Texas Tech alum, and get you guys' opinion on some of the things happening in college football. There's been a lot of changes. The staples of the Big 12 have moved to the SEC and Texas and Oklahoma. And the Big 12 is revamped in a big way. They got 16 teams now, 16 teams, and half of those teams are coming from the West Coast. Before we jump straight into the Big 12 teams, I want to get you guys' opinion on Texas. They're right down the street from where we're shooting this at right now in Waco, Texas. On Texas going into the SEC, and how do you think those guys are going to fare going into the SEC last year? Made it to the college football playoffs for the first time. They were able to secure that number 3 spot. They ended up falling short in that game to Washington in the college football playoffs. But they're coming back with a lot of talent. They lost some talent, but they're coming back with a lot of talent. They've had a few injuries in their running back room, but we know Texas is always deep in that running back position. How do you guys feel like Texas is going to fare in this new SEC? We'll start with you, Walker.
Well, a lot of expectations.
Yep.
But it's a different ball game now. You're going into a conference where you're gonna have to play week in and week out. There's no Houston's on the schedule. There's no cupcakes. So you're gonna have to play every week. So with that being said, they recruit well. And top 5, top 3 in the country every year from year to year. Now you got to go out and play, though. You have to go out and play. The game is going to change. It's going to be a little faster for them. You're playing Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama. You your rivalry will be Texas A&M, LSU. So now you have to play. You have to play weekend. And then you still have to play Oklahoma, which is the Red River rivalry. Mm-hmm. So in the Big 12, you can lose 2 games and you still can get in. But when you're in this Southeast Conference, you can't lose 2 or 3 games and get in, because you're going to always have that team that's going to win, that's going to be undefeated, or that's going to lose 1 game. So it's no room for error with the Longhorns going into the Southeast Conference.
Well, I think the game has kind of changed now, Walker, right? It used to be a big deal to win your conference, right? Mm-hmm. I think with the expansion of the playoffs, winning in your conference isn't the big deal that it used to be. Right. So when we talk about the success, what kind of success they want, what they really want is make the playoffs. You know what I mean? Yeah, so that gives you that lowers the temperature or lowers the pressure of winning the SEC. Right. Again, I think they have a great chance to win the SEC. I'm not real big on Georgia this year. I know everybody else is big on Georgia. I'm not real big on Georgia because, for my money, I don't think their quarterback is that good. But everybody seems to think he's,
first team All-American. Just came out a couple days ago.
Yeah, but when you've built your reputation by handing the ball off, and let's see if you're in a game, and let's see what really happens. Let's see what happens. Now, again, Texas is predicted to finish second, and I'll say there'll be either 1 or 2. I actually believe that this is really a down year in the SEC. I think they're coming in at the right time. They're catching Bama down somewhat.
Yeah, definitely. All Saban.
Yeah, I think they're catching Bama down. I think they're catching Tennessee a little down. I think they're catching Florida down.
Way down.
You understand what I'm saying? I think go ahead.
You got to think about it. I mean, this is the era of the NIL. So Texas got guys driving Lamborghinis.
Who got a bigger bag than Texas?
No, and that was going to be my initial take.
You got guys driving Lamborghinis.
Texas is going to be always okay, because as long as college football doesn't implement a salary cap, I think they'll be fine.
Exactly. You can recruit with that. You can recruit when you have, when you're giving away money. And they have some of the biggest donors and alumni we're talking about in Texas. We're talking about probably the second best team in the state of Texas, right behind the Houston Texans.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Kyra,
what do you think about Texas jumping into that SEC?
I don't appreciate that, right?
Okay, I know Rocky wouldn't either.
But I kind of want to keep it right with this season. Okay, so yeah, I think in the long run, Texas is going to be fine with recruiting and everything. They're going to have all these issues. Y'all can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So they're going to be fine recruiting in the long run for the years. But just looking at this year going forward, we saw last year that between Texas and Bama, correct me if I'm wrong, Bama beat Georgia last year, right?
Yes, sir. In the SEC championship game.
But when Alabama played Texas, who won those trenches? Which team was winning those trenches?
I would believe that is Texas who won that game.
Yeah, I would. No, Texas lost the game, but they were winning the battle in the trenches. Was my point.
Okay.
So these guys, they as constructed, they have the players as is. Like Isaiah Bonds, the Bama transfer, was a playmaker for them last year. They got SEC ready guys. Shout out Kobe Black moving up that depth chart too on that DB list. Connolly product.
Him and Wisner.
Yeah, him and Wisner. But I just think that with the newly constructed conferences, I'm in agreement, man. 2 games, I think you can lose 2 games, 2-3 games, you're still in the championship. You got Oklahoma here now. You have Texas here now. Bama's down. Georgia's looking like they might start trending towards that, even though their draft class was still crazy. But, not draft class, their recruiting class is still crazy. But so there's opportunity for, you lose to Bama, lose to Georgia, you can still end up in a conference championship. I'm not sure how the divisions work over there, but
There's
I
no
don't think
divisions
they're the
anymore.
powerhouse. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think the SEC is the powerhouse anymore. I really don't. We got the Big Ten now.
Yeah.
I think improved vastly more than the SEC just did. SEC, yeah, money, cool. Texas, that's great. But in terms of football, you got USC now. That's a staple on the West Coast. Nobody competing with them as far as just popularity. Washington's a better team.
Okay.
But as far as just like recruitability, like USC is still University of Southern California now. Like
LA,
Washington, and then you got those, and then the big dogs out there, Ohio State. The Big Ten and the SEC, man, it's getting closer to like, look, we don't even need these things, man. Let's just do it. One big super conference, I was kind of thinking about a English soccer type system, like you get promoted to the Super League and you fall out of the Super League, based off of, your wins and losses. But Texas is going to be just fine. Like this is still Texas football. Texas recruits, a lot of these, and they got some transfer kids too. But it's Texas, they'll be fine, man. Like I think they're going to win this year. I think Texas is going to win that conference. Alabama is without Saban. Georgia's been on a super run. I think Texas is going to shore that up. And I'm just quick side note too. I'm taking Kansas for this Big 12.
Get off here, man. Come on, bro. Yeah. We're not.
I'm telling you. Listen, man.
I respect it. They got Jalen Daniels. They got Devin Neal.
Which Kansas?
He talking about Kansas and
I'm
Lawrence.
talking about the Jayhawks. The Jayhawks.
It's a
team full of seniors. And playmakers on the back end and two studs in the backfield. They're going to do something to this Big 12.
I can agree to a point there as we transition to talking about the Big 12. So we all agree Texas is going to do big things. I don't have them winning the SEC outright, but they have a chance to. They got Oklahoma and Georgia back to back. They got Oklahoma on October 12th and then October 19th.
So who do you have?
I got Georgia.
I have Mississippi.
Ole Miss.
See, we didn't even talk about Ole Miss. Ole Miss has got a squad down there.
Ole Miss. Thought you were talking about State for a second.
So you think their quarterback is going to be okay?
Jackson Dart.
Yes.
All right.
Jackson Dart.
I'm taking Ole Miss.
I don't have a problem with that. Ole Miss got a squad. Ole Miss, but in past, Ole Miss kind of has what Texas has kind of had in the past. They got those top recruits every year, but can you put it together and win and finish it off?
I think this is the year.
But yeah, they have a squad though. I'm not mad at that pick at all. So we got a couple people on here taking Texas. We got one Ole Miss and one Georgia on here as we talk about Texas going to the SEC. Let's transition kind of what you were just talking about there, Kyrell, in this Big 12. New look Big 12, 16 teams now in the Big 12. They added what feels like half the Pac-12 has joined into the Big 12. You got with teams like Utah coming over, with Arizona, who was a very sleeper team coming into this Big 12. Arizona's got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of talent over there in Arizona. You bring in what could potentially be one of the big dogs with Colorado, with Coach Prime, what he's got working over there. And then you still got the teams that's in the Big 12, like your Texas Tech, like your Baylor, who, like Baylor, and like and some of these other schools that was already in there. I'm a Baylor fan, so we'll speak on them at the in the end of this 30 minutes that we got here left on the show. But in this new Big 12, brand new look Big 12, like I said, 16 teams. It's pretty much Big 12 and Pac-12 hybrid is what it feels like. What are your guys' feelings about this new Big 12? Kyrell, we'll start with you this time. What are some of your feelings? We just heard your hot take about Kansas, about this new Big 12. Who do you think are going to be some of the front runners in this conference?
Front runners in this conference are definitely going to be Kansas, Colorado, and the third one is to be determined. But I'm looking at Kansas and Colorado.
That's a shaky two to start.
Yeah. Well, because I'm looking at those Pac-12 schools.
Don't go to Vegas with those picks.
Yeah.
I mean, look. I hear you guys, but when I'm talking about Kansas, I'm looking at a team that's experienced. All these players, that are on that team have been on the field for 3 to 4 years. This is a senior-led team, a senior field team. And I'm looking at Baylor. I'm looking at the reality TV going on out in Boulder. I'm looking at these Pac-12 schools. You know, Arizona could be a problem, but honestly, I haven't seen too much of them. And I'm just not big on the Pac-12 to be anything. I think I'm glad they got rid of that conference. Good.
ACC next.
Yeah, they should have sent some of them to FCS. That's what they should have did. But yeah, I think that the Big 12 is ripe for the taking. You know, who's gonna stake that claim? Who's gonna usher in this new era of Big 12 football? And it's up for the grab. And I think some people are gonna fold. And I think the guys that have probably have the most experience, they're gonna succeed. And so I'm taking Kansas. I'm rooting for Colorado. I'm rooting for Shador and Travis Hunter and that number 1 pick they got to tackle. Like I like it, man. But there's not. I'm all about the trenches. And just because you sign one guy, I think it was a 5-star recruit. Just because you sign one guy, I'm just not buying it, man. They gotta get back to football. Like all my teams need to get back to football. Dallas Cowboys. Dion, man, I don't want to see no reality TV. So I'm taking Kansas and those kids is trying to make that last year count.
So because I have a hobby that I keep up with this kind of stuff, Kansas is 9-1 odds to win. So $100 wins you $900, and if you take Colorado, $100 wins you $2,200.
What does that say?
So my point is, Vegas makes money picking this stuff, and the best, you know, the team that has the best odds is Kansas State. Well, Utah, and they're 3-1. So I think with that being the best team to win, the odds are wide open in the Big 12. You know, if I had to say. And Walker, your Red Raiders are 14-1. So,
$1,400. $100 in there.
We all say it's up for grabs.
Yeah,
I'm picking Oklahoma State, to be honest with you. I mean, they've been the dogs of the conference.
That's a great pick, Walker. I mean, that's a great pick.
You go to Ames, you have to play. If you go and win in Ames, you done something. You know, Oklahoma State has been first, second, third in the Big 12 the last, 10 years.
Yeah, honestly.
Now I don't know what this means, but this is quite peculiar to me. Colorado is picked to finish 11th, and they're 22-1, as I spoke before. Baylor is picked to finish 12th. However, they're 51. So I don't know if in that case Colorado's overvalued. You know, maybe there's a lot of people,
a lot of hype.
But that's how the numbers change. If too many people go in and put money on the books, that's gonna change the number in Vegas. So all that means is a lot of people have put money down for Colorado to come up, and that was probably moved them up to that. Why that gap is so big between them and Baylor, even though they only picked a spot apart.
And Dion is my brother. I love him. That's my boy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's a lot of hype. But it has to translate. I mean, it has to transition to the field, and it's not.
I think it's early. I think it's too early for everyone to expect for them to come right out and just dominate and get 9 to 10 wins. I love what Dion is building down there. I love what he's standing for. He's got a lot of haters out here in the media and about Colorado. We had Paul Feinbaum come out and say that they're irrelevant to college football, which just isn't true because they're one of the top 3 probably most watched teams. We've seen it last year. It felt like everybody was watching, good or bad.
And everybody's rooting for
What
Dion.
a hater.
Good or bad. Yeah, I mean, but that's Paul Feinbaum. You know he going to do that.
Never played it down to football.
You know, exactly. You know how that goes. Yeah,
You
so
don't know. He may have had a leather helmet back in the day,
Back
man.
in the day.
yeah, he played back when them helmets were still squishy.
And he had it on in class.
We say you can fold your helmet up, put it in your
Yeah,
pocket.
yeah, the helmets were still squishy when Paul Feinbaum was playing. They was playing kicker and quarterback and stuff. in the
No,
league
but
still.
I just think it goes back to it's wide open in the Big 12. And I think that increases the entertainment value. What I'm looking to see kind of work its way out. What that means for how many berths into the playoffs that they get. Because I think if it's a situation where say Utah wins and the next best team has one, maybe even two losses, would they be willing to select another Big 12 team in the playoffs, or will they go with, 4 SEC teams, 4 Big 12 teams, and then Baylor would get one group of 5, and then there would be, another one of the group of 4 conferences that get a vote. So that's kind of what I'm trying to wait to see.
There's gonna be a lot of parity in the Big 12. I mean, because teams are gonna be knocking off teams. I think it's wide open. It's an even match.
When I went and looked over the schedules, right? I think it's going to be hard to evaluate how good certain teams are because the way the schedule breaks down. You have 16 teams, right? And no divisions, if I'm not correct.
No divisions.
But everybody won't play everybody, and there'll be some, and there conceivably be the 2 best teams. Probably they could have played each other before, or the 2 best teams maybe say the 2 best teams may be Kansas and Kansas State, but Kansas has a better record because they didn't have to play the 2 best teams. You understand what I'm saying? So you can get in those kind of situations as well where the level of competition is not comparable because of the disparity
How
in
many
schedule.
teams it is. I think it's going to be kind of like how the SEC has been for the last 5 or 6 years. And the SEC West was a gauntlet. You got Auburn, Bama, LSU, Texas A&M, all in the SEC West. And Georgia was winning the SEC East every year because Florida hasn't had the teams up to par in years. South Carolina, Vanderbilt, who shouldn't even be in the SEC. It's teams like that
and all those.
Georgia got to beat up on a lot of those guys, so they were guaranteed in the championship no matter what. And they're going to play whoever wins out of Bama and LSU most of the time. So I think it can end up being a situation like that where what if Oklahoma State doesn't play all the top guys and they're there waiting, and there's a Kansas State that's battle-tested.
What I don't know if there's some mandatory cross matches like in the SEC. Like Alabama – Auburn is a match they're probably going to have every year in the SEC. Probably either Georgia and Florida or Tennessee and Florida are going to have that matchup.
Georgia, Florida going to play every year.
Going to play every year.
Texas and Texas A&M.
Yeah, big rivalry.
Texas and Texas A&M are going to play every year. So you got to realize how those kind of games kind of impact the strength of schedule, this, that, and the other. I don't know if the Big 12 are there any kind of natural rivalries here other than maybe Arizona State or Kansas State?
You still got Baylor, TCU.
Hey man, they might be 13 and 14.
You think that's no?
And TCU might be a sleeper in this conference.
Yeah, I was wondering if anybody gonna say TCU.
Well, when I was looking at Sports Illustrated predicted finish, I'll just call it out for you guys since I'm right here on the website, and I'll see what you guys think about it. They have Utah 1, Kansas State 2, Oklahoma State 3, Kansas 4, Arizona 5, West Virginia 6, Iowa State 7, TCU 8, Texas Tech 9, University of Central Florida 10, Colorado 11, Baylor 12, BYU 13, Cincinnati 14, Arizona State 15, and bringing up the rear is Houston. And considering, that, there will be some surprises. There's no doubt about that. There will be some surprises. And I'll say this. Willie Fritz takes over Houston, and he's won everywhere he's ever been.
Facts.
Well, that's about to change this year.
And that's true.
Because I think Willie Fritz one of those guys that he won at Navarro, he won at Sam Houston, he won at Tulane. You know what I mean? He's won everywhere, and he's won big. I'm talking about he's won championships. And so,
but you got to give it a little time. I think you have to give it a little time.
I agree. With some time and going forward in the Big 12, with time, Houston is the only team that has that potential to be like not as good as, but if you're just using as a reference, like how Miami back in the day needed to recruit Miami.
So
Houston just needs to recruit Houston, and they'll be a top 3 team.
Here's what you're missing, guys. I think a lot of that territorial dominance is gone away from college football.
NIL did that.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah.
Because
you can get paid to go to Liberty.
We do a show every Tuesday at 8 p.m. When we focus on HBCU Coaches Corner, and we've been out there talking to coaches, different coaches, and they're saying as soon as the coach gets to school, the kids are asking, "What you got, coach?" Like they're not. I say they're not even shy about it. He says that's what the coach. He's talking about. I'm talking 1 star, 2 star, no stars. They all want what you got, coach.
Something, yeah. And I don't blame them.
Handshake, that's what I got. Handshake.
Yeah.
I don't blame them at all.
But Walker, let me ask you this. Legal NIL was not available when you were playing. I don't know what star you were.
I was a top 30 recruit in the state. You
would have been a 5-star essentially, right?
I was the 5th ranked receiver in the whole state.
So you would have been you would have.
So I would have been a ESPN top 300.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was heavily recruited.
Yeah,
and I had committed to the University of Texas from my sophomore year because I was a track guy and I ran and.
They had a legendary track team.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even track. It was football. But after my sophomore year, I started to get recruited, and I started to play when I was a junior and put up numbers. So after my junior year, I committed to the University of Texas.
And guys out there, just to explain, just to kind of outline the climate back then, there were no official visits until you were a senior back then.
Right.
So
right.
when Wayne says he committed to Texas, it was merely on reputation alone.
It was reputation where they had seen you in films where they had watched guys. I had went to the state track meet in my junior year,
and that was on campus.
That was on campus, and you kind of get word out. Dudley Haas was a big beer distributor in Waco at the time. He owned Miller Lite. And it kind of got back to me that, University of Texas is very interested in you. But I got my share of publicity, but I was totally committed to the University of Texas, and that's where I was going. But, I'm just saying, if I was the top 5 receiver in the state of Texas today, and the top 30 recruit in the whole state of Texas, I was in the top 30. Yeah, my mom would have had a house. And had things too. Because that's where we're going.
Now Walker,
I had things anyway, but
I'm going to ask you this, right? But because I want to be perfectly, I want to be honest with you. The recruit, but the wide receiver position is evaluated totally different now than when you were in.
Right.
Do you think, regardless, your production may have been through the roof?
The running back position was valued then because the game has evolved. So as to now where it's 70% pass and 30% run, at that time it was 70% run and 30% pass. You had guys running wishbone. You didn't have a wide open offense, So the game has evolved. So the running backs were valued. You talk about Eric Dixon and Earl Campbell and all these
Curtis
guys.
Dickey and
all these guys that came out of the state of Texas.
yeah.
These was big time recruits, but they were all running back.
Darren Lewis.
There you see how they value that position now in the NFL. They the lowest paid guys on the totem pole because
And get the
game
most
is
punishment.
evolved. The game is evolved, and now you throw the ball more. So now these receivers are getting paid $35 million and running backs 10.
You know, the interesting thing to me, Walker, is maybe I was oblivious to it as a young player, but in the skill positions, height wasn't a big thing when I was playing. You know what I mean?
In the skill position,
yeah, like when you talk about running backs, you know, when you talk about guys who, you know, there were wide receiving cores in the pros where nobody were over 6 feet. You know what I mean?
Well, you got to think about the times because, like, when the game started to evolve, so you have these big defensive backs that's out there knocking guys down. So now, hey, I want to go get me 4 little small receivers that can get off the ball, that can outrun these guys, these big guys. So we run and shoot. We finna throw the ball. We finna throw the ball most of the time. Let these guys sit down in these holes or outrun these guys. So then you had to start, once you start getting rid of the big defensive backs that could run, then you start bringing in the small defensive back that could hang with these guys. So the whole game, it's all about evolving. It's all about strategy and what one guy can bring in compared to the next guy.
So even today, Walker, this is interesting. We talk about recruiting. We already know we're in the studio with Wayne Walker, who out of high school back in 1985, he was a top 30 recruit in the state of Texas. However, let's be honest, Walker, you were 5'8", 5'9"?
I was 5'8" when I came out.
5'8", 150 pounds?
106.
Yeah.
But this is one thing that, and this is when the run and shoot and all this stuff started to take place. And then you had the guys like with Washington, like Clark and Clarence Verdun and all these type of guys. And so
Ricky Sanders and all
those type of guys. But the thing about it is, Rocky fails to tell you that I ran a 4.3 though too.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. But add that part in there.
And I went to state in the 100 meter dash.
No.
Let them know.
So that alone is going to take you there.
So as you mentioned that, I was going to get to that, Walker. That you went to state 2 years in a row as a trackster, maybe 3 years in a row as a trackster, and so you had what was documented as world-class speed. Let's just be honest. He had world-class speed. And I'm not talking about he was a good high school football player, a trackster. He was next level. Probably if there was a track recruiting service out there, you would have been the top 10,
and I had those
100 meters
too.
in the nation.
Yeah, and I had those options too. But the thing about it is, if you can play, you can run track, and you can be fast, but that don't mean you can play football.
Well, and that's what I was gonna, kind of get around to. Obviously, someone saw you on the foot, saw your speed translating to be very effective on the football field. I remember as a junior, when you were a junior, I was in 8th grade, and I was able to see you out at La Vega run 2 traps for a touchdown. So you didn't always catch the ball. You scored in a number of ways. As a matter of fact, against and you can go look it up. It's on YouTube. A couple weeks ago, I was looking up your highlights when we interviewed you on Travis's show, where I want to say, I don't know if it was your first or your second or whatever touchdown, but you scored on a reverse your freshman year against the University of Texas. Yeah. I wonder what the coach was thinking about when you were running down the sideline.
For 80 yards.
I mean, and you're literally coming out of high school making that kind of impact on the field. I just want to ask you, did you anticipate having that kind of impact as a freshman?
Well, this is the thing. When I changed my commitment from the University of Texas to Texas Tech, the biggest thing that they could have said to me, and the most important thing was, hey, you're going to play. We want speed. They essentially begged me to come to Texas Tech. They showed me they wanted me. They showed me love. Like, so I knew I was going to play from day one.
Did any of that love fold or jingle?
A lot of it fold. I can tell you that. A lot of it fold.
That's what they called it back then. They called it love.
It's called dropping the envelope on the floor. And saying, whose is that? And then you pick it up and it's got about $10,000 in it. But they wanted me. They wanted me and they told me I was gonna play from day one. I felt like I could have did that at Texas too, but I wasn't promised that. I was promised that at Texas.
You was promised love.
I was promised that.
You were promised love.
A whole lot of things I was promised. So that made the decision a lot easier. And then, here at home in Waco, I just wanted to get away. Baylor recruited me real strong. They had Alfred Anderson, Gerald McNeil, all these guys come talk to me. I was offered a lot of things as well, but we won't get into that. But,
love.
That's what we're gonna call it.
But I wanted to get away from the home experience. I wasn't gonna do anything here, because you got friends, family, and it takes away from that. I wanted to get away and see some things and learn to become a man and move out to West Texas.
Yeah, man. Like I said, you had an amazing career at Texas Tech. You had a great career in the NFL, man, and you had some opportunities to play in other professional leagues, man, Canada and such. And like I say, you are truly, as Jalen said, a local hero and a hometown legend, man. I want to thank you for coming in and sitting in with us, man. Yes, and you are listening to the Centex Sports 94.5 HD2, the official broadcast partner of Texas Tech football and athletics in Central Texas, Walker. And we're gonna have you on doing some pregame stuff for us. Right. Leading into the Texas Tech games, man. And I'm so happy to have you on board.
To it and thank you guys for considering me and
for sure
making that's a thing that anytime you give your heart to something for 4 years and they give their money to you for 4 years.
love. That's what we're calling it, the love.
That's a great opportunity. I look forward to it, and like I said, thank you guys for considering me and having me be a part of that.
And I know you're a Red Raider. Like I said, Walker, I know you're a Red Raider through and through. I know you're deep down in Baylor country, but there's always a Red Raider here, and my good friend, he doesn't waver in his support of the Red Raiders, man. He must have really had a good time down there and love it.
A lot of love. A lot of love while he was out there, and definitely.
I mean, that's anything that you do. I mean, that's your high school. If you went to college anywhere, that's one of the things that you take pride in. I mean, that's like going back to homecoming. That's where your friends are. I mean, I have some friends for life there. It's some guys that I went to battle with in between the lines every single Saturday that are lifelong friends. And to have the opportunity to come back and, do a pregame show for my alma mater, I mean, that's a blessing.
Hey, and I can't wait till you bring back other Central Texas greats who went to Texas Tech, like Lynn Elliott and Donald Harris and Dee Foster and all those guys, because there's a great legacy of Texas Tech Red Raiders coming from right here in Central Texas.
Tracy Sauls is another guy.
Yeah,
a Texas Tech legend that lives here. I mean, endless guys that I play with and that I speak with on a consistent basis that are Red Raiders will be here and be a part of that on Saturdays. And it'll be great to chop it up with some old guys and talk about our alma mater. And, this is year 3 for Joey McGuire. So, like in everything else, like now he's, what would you call that, a junior?
Yeah,
You know, he's not a freshman anymore. You know, he's a junior.
Yeah.
So things have to happen. You know, you have to learn. You know, now you got to put your best foot forward, and now it's time to see results. So we'll see what the Red Raiders going to do, but I'm excited to be here to talk about it every Saturday and you know, live that dream and see what happens.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we definitely want to appreciate you, like Rocky said, for coming on the show, man. And Rocky, we appreciate you as well, man, for coming in and helping out with us today. Folks, want to thank everybody for watching with us today on Centex Sports Network and on CBS Sports Radio 94.5 HD channel as well. Once again, make sure you guys go and download that Centex Sports One app, whether it's on the Apple Store or whether that's Google Play, and also go on to CentexSports1.com where you can listen to this and catch all of the action. Kyrell, man, want to appreciate you for jumping on with us today as well, bro. Centex Primetime, we're getting things going here as we're leading into football season. It's coming up right around the corner. We've got high school football. We've got some college football starting this weekend. I think Florida State and Georgia Tech will be playing this weekend. So from this weekend forward all the way to about February, we'll have football going, folks. So if you guys are sports fans like we are here on Centex Primetime, then you're definitely excited about that. Once again, thank you guys for coming on with us today. We're getting ready to sign off for today. Every day, 5 to 7, you can catch us right here on Centex Primetime. We've got, like we said, we've got a Texas Tech show coming up on Saturdays as we move forward into football season, where we'll have guys like Rocky Miller and we'll have guys like Wayne Walker on here featured, as well as this will be the flagship station for Texas Tech football as we move forward here in Central Texas Radio. So thanks, everybody. Once again, we will see you guys tomorrow, same time. Once again, 5 o'clock, getting ready to sign off here today. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, and we will see you guys next time. Have a good one.
CBS Sports Central Texas, KWBT HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Hood is CBS Sports Central Texas, changing sports radio.
Book your next special event at the Bell Mead Civic Center. From quinceañeras to Christmas parties, the Civic Center has room to accommodate your needs. You're planning that special birthday party, having a family reunion, or training seminar. Book now at the Bell Mead Civic Center. Now, if you need to rent a room for that big event for your family or business function, the Bell Mead Civic Center is what you're looking for.